102. Weekend Breakfast with Refiloe Mpakanyane.
Let's walk the talk.
I guess this part of the conversation is really about fleshing out and finding out what your experience of homeschooling your children has been, and most importantly, how to improve the experience for our children. I know my own child has been working from home for the last couple of weeks, ever since government, pushed back the reopening of schools for the 2021 calendar. And so we've had to start off the year by ourselves remotely at home, luckily with the help and the use of online platforms. But we're going to be talking to Nomthi who is the founder of a lifestyle blog called suchiswisdom.com. Yes, she's got a bachelor's degree in economics. She's a qualified trader on the JSE. She's a Six Sigma consultant and very accomplished, has done so much with her life. But motherhood or parenthood really does have a way of changing your life and channeling your ambitions and your passions to places you never thought you would go. And so for Nomthi, with all her achievements, having a child and the prospect of sending the child to school really did send her down a rather unintended path. And that was, one of those was homeschooling. Not one, not two, but all three of her children. And by homeschooling, I don't mean what I am doing or perhaps what you and I are doing, which is, when we need to have our children work from home, have our children do their schoolwork from home and dial in to talk to their teachers and interact with their classes remotely. I mean homeschooling in the traditional sense. So we're going to get a first-person sort of testimonial experience from Nomthi as she talks to us about how she's found it and perhaps, learning some lessons that she's gleaned over the years and perhaps what might make our own schooling from home experiences that much smoother. Nomthi, welcome to Weekend Breakfast. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you very much, Refiloe, and morning to your listeners.
It is an absolute pleasure. I'm so glad you, in fact, got in touch with us to say, guys, I think I might have something that you would find useful and your listeners might find useful and interesting, as we all now suddenly have to become teachers, right, in one way or another. Nomthi, talk us through your journey and why you decided to homeschool your three children.
So to give you a little bit of a brief background about myself, so I am Christian, first of all. I'm a wife and a mother of three little children and run a lifestyle blog called Such Is Wisdom. So basically how it started is that, I started investigating godly precepts and godly wisdom, and I started to realize that one of the things that it said was that we must raise up our own children. So then I started to say, well, how do we do that practically? And then homeschooling came into mind, and so I started researching it and investigating it. But then COVID happened, and all of us were kind of dived in and forced to homeschool our children one way or the other. And so, at that moment, decided to take a leap of faith and decide, let me just do this, because it has been something that was laid in my spirit to say, let me investigate it, because of the fact that, we differed in ideology from the schools. For instance, sex education was a big deal for me, raising small children, to say, we felt like it was introduced way too soon. And for us, it was a concern, and we wanted to take back that conversation as a family and as parents, and control the narrative.
So what I'm interested in, Nomthi, is, how you go about doing this, because unlike those of us who have to deal with a couple of weeks or maybe a month of online learning, you have done this, you've gone homeschooling in the traditional sense. What did you have to know? What did you have to find out? How did you equip yourself?
So there's some considerations that we had to talk through as a family. One was, were we going to do it just to augment the COVID period, or were we going to do it full time? And I think that makes a difference as a family, because it then determines what kind of methodology we use. So when we started our research, we realized that, there's different methodologies for homeschooling. There's something called School at Home, where basically you bring in a curriculum and you just follow it. basically to the letter, and you get guidance.
Sure.
And then you get something called eclectic homeschooling, where, families go out and research different methodologies all over the world. So you might decide, I actually like the single format curriculum, and then you bring that into the home, and then you're like, oh, maybe I'll take the Cambridge English or the South African science or whatever you want, and then you would put together a curriculum that you would suit your children, and then you would implement it with your children. And then there's something called natural learning, which basically means that you get guided by the children, and then they guide you in terms of what they're interested in.
And obviously, as someone who runs a blog such as wisdom.com, what are the questions that you are dealing with as a parent from other parents that are, asking for additional info or insights from you? What are those insights that you are readily dispensing and feel that people that want to embark on the homeschooling journey just really need to be aware of?
So one of them, which is a big one, is really what you touched on this morning with regards to, how do we do this? The anxieties that parents feel, and, are you a good teacher or not? And my response to that is that you've raised the child up until now. Who taught your child how to talk? Who taught your child, and helped and guided and facilitated your child up to so far? So I think that the shift in teacher, mom, sometimes just becomes more in the mind and more an anxiety bringing feeling rather than a reality, because you've been doing it anyway from when your child was born. So I think sometimes it's just a change in mindset to be like, you know what, I've got this. I've done this for 6 years or whatever until the child is, going to school. So there's a lot that you as a parent know how to do, and you weren't taught that. So that's really the main thing that people talk about. They talk about the anxiety and not knowing what they're doing and not realizing that they've actually been doing it all along.
Nomthi, thank you so much for your time this morning, as well as your insights, saying, you know what, actually, you can do this. Matter of fact, you've been doing this. Her blog is called suchiswisdom.com, and my guest on the line there was Nomthi Linyai talking.
It's falling down my dairy. So the piggy say oink 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 oink. The piggy said 8 on babies, and all the piggies say oink oink oink.